Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Thanks for joining me today. I'm thrilled to bring you Ana Ruiz. She's a relationship coach, and we have lots of questions for you. Hi, Ana.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
My pleasure. Ana is a relationship coach empowering women to live well with bipolar and to build and maintain a relationship where they feel understood, supported, and accepted for who they are. So well done, Anna. That's really good. A lot of people suffer with that. So it's good to hear from you today. So let's go to the beginning, how it all started. How did you get into this?
So I got into this. It was a combination of things. First, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 32 years old. And that's just been a combination of genetics. My mother was diagnosed with bipolar even before I was born. And then in addition to that, I experienced just a lot of childhood trauma and adult trauma. So that led to that diagnosis when I was 32. And then I realized that I wanted a relationship. I wanted to share my life with a man who loved me and supported me for who I am. But I felt on the inside that I was affected, that there was something broken with me. So I went on a journey to learn about relationships, relationship skills and tools, just the things that I never learned at home or at school, right? And then also a journey of healing from the inside so that I could be the partner that I just wanted to be, how I wanted to show up in a relationship. And that's how I became a relationship coach. And I realized women with bipolar, we experience some very unique challenges to both relationships, to living life well. And I wanted to help those women.
Wonderful journey. Now, what I'm wondering is now you touch base. First, it would be very difficult to have bipolar. You would recognize it if you have. I don't, but I'm sure you recognize that you have it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who do. So, what kind of challenges, you touch base on that, would be different for you and for anyone with bipolar to be facing in relationships? Let's go there.
Yeah. So some of the challenges that I faced were a low self esteem and low self worth. So initially, I got into relationships that were abusive because I didn't love myself enough. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it was really true. I was living my life from a place of feeling like I was a burden, and therefore, I would get into abusive relationships where men were not meeting me where I was because I just felt that I was not enough. So that was one of the biggest things that I encounter. In addition to feeling like I'm not enough because I have a mental illness. If a partner could pick between two women, one that's mentally healthy and one that has a diagnosis,
Yeah.
why would they pick me? So that's where a lot of those low self worth issues came up for me.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, what I'm thinking is one, I could tell right now you're more than enough. You're a lovely lady. What I'm thinking is when you say I'm not enough, is that because you're thinking I'm broken? Therefore, because I'm broken, I can't have a whole relationship. Is that too simple or is that kind of where you're going with that?
Um, if that is like it's how it starts.
Okay. So then you choose
Yeah.
people who perhaps because you don't feel in your confidence 100%, you're choosing people who may zone in on that. Is that fair?
Correct. Or relationships where I felt like I had to do more to compensate for my lack. To give you an example, at some point in my career, I was financially independent. I owned my own home, but I would find relationships where I had to rescue my partners financially because I felt like, oh, well, I have money. I may have a deficiency over here with my diagnosis, but I have a surplus over here. So I'm going to rescue them financially because that's what I have. And that's where I would get in relationships where they were lopsided.
And would you feel empowered by doing that? Would that help you feel better when you gave to the other person more than necessary?
Well, more than empowered, I felt like that's what I needed to do to
Okay.
get that relationship, like to become sort of quote like an equal. But
Oh, I can. From as you're
um,
saying that, I'm thinking, but she's so together. So you think, I wonder why she felt that way because right away, so I guess we all do it. We kind of all beat ourselves up for our imperfections, right? We probably put them out there a little bigger than they are because we think that other people can see our imperfections. In fact, we all have them, right?
yeah,
So whether it's physically, mentally, you would still have to face the world knowing that perhaps you have this, but you have to overcome it or overcompensate. That's what I'm
yeah,
thinking you're doing is
that's a good word.
overcompensating for
Mhm.
something that really is not necessary, but you
Right.
feel it's necessary.
Mhm.
Now, did you get help with your bipolar? What happened with that?
I did. So all along in the 20 years since I've been diagnosed, I've done therapy work, I've done body work, I've done energy healing work. I've done somatic work. I mean, I have done a lot of work on myself. And also along the way, I have been training and acquiring certifications and experience so that I can help others, so that I can, in a way, pay it forward.
Wonderful. Now, are you in a relationship now? Can we ask that, Anna? You certainly don't have to answer, but,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is a great question. So along my journey of learning about relationships and doing my inner work is that I, as a reflection of working on myself, I actually met a great man and we're married now. We've been together for 7 years. Not only it was the relationship of my dreams and so much more. At the same time, it has been a very healing relationship for me because the things that I had to struggle with, like feeling broken, feeling defective, my husband mirrors to me like the things that he loves and that he appreciates about me and that he's proud about me. I say that love is a medicine, and that is an example of that.
what a beautiful story, Anna. That's wonderful. What I'm thinking as you were talking about your husband, it does take someone who's patient and understanding and who makes the connection come alive, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there are two things, there's so many things I love about our relationship. But one of them is from the beginning, he has been very supportive of me in ways that other partners have not. So rather than say, okay, you had to be hospitalized, I cannot deal with this. Instead, he looked at it and said, okay, you were hospitalized. Let's make a plan. How do we need to make things better the next time? How can I support you? So he works with me. That's the kind of support that I needed. And he has set firm boundaries with me in terms of I'm going to be in this relationship with you and I want you to do your part seeking treatment, following the prescriptions from your doctor, from your coach, whoever is helping you, and not just expect me to be here to catch you every time you need help. So he's been very clear about doing that. And that has really made a big difference in just the way we've been together like all these years.
That is so I'm really thrilled that you found such a nice man. Okay. So that's important, Anna. But you must have had some kind of a journey on your own, had to go inside, basically, as they say, inside and find yourself on this journey. So, Were you perhaps more whole, if I can say the word whole, prior to meeting your husband? Or was this a journey that it just happened he was part of along the journey?
So it's been both. I mean, I did a fair amount of work on myself to feel
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
in order to attract him into my life. Mm.
Before they go into relationships, because I think women, because we think emotionally, and correct me if I'm wrong, we tend to try to be the person we think the man wants us to be instead of being ourselves. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And I totally agree with what you just said.
Okay, so when we're younger women, I think we have a plan to get married, perhaps have children, perhaps. I mean, not everybody does. I'm talking generally. So we have that goal. So we're trying to pigeonhole ourselves, if you will, what the man wants. So we want to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect whatever it is we think we should be, instead of finding ourselves first.
Yes.
And even before we venture out into our first relationships, I don't think we find ourselves at a young enough age. And then if you have things like bipolar, you may not recognize it. So you make decisions that perhaps are not good for you. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the journey of finding ourselves, finding who we are, learning to love and accept ourselves is definitely a lifetime journey. I do think it's important to go on that journey
Sure.
rather than just orient ourselves outside into like a man. What is the man we want? What's the man we want to attract? What's the man we want to marry? What's the life we want to have with that
Yeah.
married man? And that's like orienting outside instead of orienting inside.
I agree with that because I've been divorced a couple of times, so it is what it is. But then
Yeah.
I found the man of my dreams, if you will. But exactly that. By the time I matured and he matured and we grew and I met him years later, it took me that long to find that relationship because I hadn't found myself yet. I had my marriage when I was way too young, my children way too young. So by the time I grew and lived a life for myself. It took a long time to find that. So all I'm saying for you, Anna, is I'm thinking you probably went along that same process where you finally found yourself, got your strength, and then you found a wonderful man who was accepting and understanding and supportive. If we could only find that in ourselves when we're younger, that would be a much better way, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We should be teaching that perhaps in our schools instead of just home ec and things like that. And not necessarily relationships, but just doing individual strengthening. And perhaps they do. I don't know. I don't have children in school anymore. Mine are all full grown. But let's ask you this, Anna. Do you do courses or anything like that in relationship coaching? What do you do?
Yeah, so I do two things at the moment. I work with clients one on one, empowering them to become who they are,
Sure.
and then how to have a relationship, how to maintain a relationship. So it's a combination of those two things. And I meet one on one with clients. And I also just started a podcast. It's called Love with Bipolar. And it's for people who are living with bipolar disorder, people who are in a relationship or have a loved one living with bipolar, and just for anyone else who want to learn about these topics. Like, everyone is welcome to listen. And you can go into YouTube and it's Love with Bipolar. That's how you can subscribe to it.
Oh, I'm going to subscribe to your channel, Anna.
Yeah,
You know
thank
what? I think it's wonderful because what you're doing in a podcast, and it's very good. You had something that you had to overcome, and you're prepared to give back. And that's exactly why I do my podcast. I want to give back. I want to help people achieve things and move forward and grow and be more confident in themselves, men or women, doesn't matter. Just the confidence level. I think in this day and age, especially with more online, I think we're kind of a little bit more isolated than we used to be. So again, as we bring it back to relationships, I would think today, and again, I'm not dating, so I don't know if the dating world when I was dating, the man took you out for dinner, went dancing or whatever you did. And I know that sounds romanticized, but that is what we did. They brought us flowers, they took us out, they did the driving, but we were fitting into their world. And I think we kind of got lost a little bit. Although it was beautiful and wonderful and gentlemanly, I think we lost ourselves a little bit along the way. Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah. I think that losing ourselves just comes from a fantasy where, I mean, if you think about it, we grew up with the Disney movies,
We
right? And that's where it all starts. That's where the fantasy of like the prince and all of that, that's where it starts.
So, but we did have a different element of that romanticized relationships that were different for that time. They were okay for the time. Today, the young people have a much healthier, I think, programming and things to help them along the way, right?
Yeah.
I do. I think, and so Anna, so when we bring, I know you have a podcast. Do you have, and you do coaching. What about? Do you have a book out or anything like that? Are you venturing into a book?
Yes, I am in the process of writing my book memoir called Becoming Love, my 20-year journey living with bipolar disorders. I talk about everything that I've been through a number of hospitalizations, the work that I've done on myself, my journey, and then who I have become and who I continue to become in that journey. So it's probably going to come out either later this year or the beginning of next year, and people can go on my website and actually sign up to receive updates on the book memoir as it's developing. And I will say my website is just like my name, Ana Ruiz, ANARUIZ .LIFE. And on my website, if people are interested in learning more about my work, they can go there. If they're interested in doing one on one work, they can, and this can be both couples and individuals because I work with both. You can just sign up to do a clarity session with me, which is a free call. We'll chat about what are your struggles, what results you want, and we'll work together on the steps to help you have the relationship that you want. So it's all free and you can sign up for that on my website.
So if I asked you for tips, 3 quick tips that you could give our audience, what would that be?
So, number one is learn to, like, if you want a relationship, it's really important to know what kind of relationship do you want? Do you want monogamy? Do you want marriage? Do you want to live in together? Be super clear about what you want and be clear about your deal breakers along the way. So that keeps coming back about what you want and not what the person in front of you is looking
Yeah.
like or how much money they make or what kind of car they drive. Go back to yourself. Be clear about what relationship you want, what deal breakers you have, and then go out and find a person who meets that. So that would be number one. Number two, learn how to repair conflict. And this is something that I teach my clients how to do because when we think about the divorce rate in the US is about 50%, globally is about 44%. And I don't have anything against divorce. I know sometimes that is the ultimate solution for couples. But the census data says that the number two reason for divorce is argue too much. So
Oh,
learn how to repair conflict. It's just so important. After the honeymoon stage in a relationship comes a power struggle. And the only relationships that make it past the power struggle are the ones who know how to repair conflict.
Now, when you say power struggle, I know we're on number two idea.
So, what happens in the power struggle is people start triggering each other,
Sure.
and either people become passive about it and resentful and not say anything about it and just start growing apart, or they get stuck in constant conflict and not knowing their way out of it. So that's why it's so important to learn how to repair conflict. Number three is learn how to feel your own emotions and make space for your own emotions and expand your own capacity to feel emotions. A part of growth is to be able to hold more for yourself, make sense of yourself, and then you can offer that for your partner, your spouse, your kids, and pretty much anyone in your life. Develop this capacity to feel emotions and expand your capacity to feel. We are so conditioned to think our way out, to numb ourselves out of our emotions, to distract ourselves from our emotions. And so much of our own power comes from actually learning to feel emotions, increase our capacity to feel emotions, everything, not just the suffering, but also the joy. So it's feeling everything and then be able to offer that to others.
And that's excellent advice. Thank you. Would it be fair that prior to getting into any long-term relationship, that both parties need to be willing to go to the emotional side individually and together prior to going in? Because I would think that there's a lot, now, maybe not today as much. A lot of young men today are able to express themselves. But certainly when I was growing up, men were taught not to express themselves. So today, are more men able to open up? Like, although you're saying it's a good idea, are the young men able to do that?
The short answer is yes. I see more and more men and more younger men willing to open up. I think with men for so long, we had a culture of man up and feeling your feelings or crying is weak. And I think men are also waking up to support other men in that journey, which is really beautiful to witness. So the short answer is yes, more men are getting in touch with their feelings and talking about their feelings. Now, it doesn't always happen. And we don't need to wait for the other partner to do their work or the other partner to change. We tend to attract someone who is in a similar frequency, so to speak, than us. And as we do our work, as we learn to hold space, then we allow our partners to either also grow or we will, by modeling to them, not teaching them, not just simply by modeling to them, we allow them to grow. Or we will see that our partners are not capable or willing or wanting to grow. And that will be feedback to us, if that makes sense.
It does. I almost think that because we've learned from history, it may even be worthwhile for couples to go to counseling prior to getting married. Not because they can't get married, just it might help them just to communicate better, to get those emotions out. Because it's just a thought, but if my background, I came from an abusive home, let's just say, and someone came from a not abusive home. We're coming from two entirely different upbringings, two entirely different set of glasses, if you will. And
Yeah.
we're trying to bring this relationship. We may be a good fit for each other, but boy, there's going to be things that trigger me that aren't going to trigger the other person. They're not going to understand, why is she getting so upset? And because it's triggering something that happened to me, let's say when I was little, that has never really left me. And
Yeah.
and I need to be able to say, "This has to be a safe place," and I need to be able to say, "This will inevitably hurt me." So I need to trust you and know that in our relationship, you won't use that against me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I really advocate that if you're going to get into a
Yeah.
marriage, going to get into a living situation, you really should seek some kind. It could be your clergy, it can be your counselor, a coach like yourself, Anna, who would be great at it, obviously. But I really think that would help young couples. That's just my.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, and I might add, if you're bringing families together, because there are so many divorces, it is hard because now your new element is more children, perhaps, and they have their own personalities, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. So this idea of like blended families,
Mhm.
it also brings challenges to our relationship and people don't necessarily know how to make those relationships work and it can just add more stress.
I agree with that 100% because I know in second marriages, there's a lot that bring families from first marriages together, and it's not an easy ride. I did it as well, so I understand that. Anna, you've been wonderful today. Honestly, would you be willing to come back and talk to us again?
Yes, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. So really, really thank you for the opportunity to share what I've learned with your audience.
You're a wonderful lady. And you know what I'm thinking when you bring your book out? I know it's going to be a little, probably further out than we thought. So perhaps we'll have you before that. And then when you launch your book, how's that?
I like that.
Anna, you've been wonderful. To everyone, this is Ana Ruiz. She's a relationship coach. If you have questions for her, I'm going to have all her information down here so you can just go ahead and click on there and you're going to be able to talk to her. And do subscribe to her channels because that helps her bring content too. And please subscribe to mine. I'm Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. I hope you're having a great day and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye bye now.